Alrighty, this is me again. So, I'd like to tell you another little episode out of my childhood days, and this was when I was about in the 12th grade. So, this was way back in 1975. Ooh, it's a long time ago, but anyway, I was 17 years old. So, this was 45 years ago. This was a much more conservative time, both for the era and, of course, for the country. And I say that because this story is what I would call Theo's condom. Yes, it is a story about Theo's condom. Um, so I knew what a condom was. I never owned one. At that age, I didn't have a use for one, and it's just the way it was. So anyway, in school, I was friends with I was friends with some girl who was friends with some other girl who was, who lived at the orphanage. And so the orphanage was in town, and they were in the same school. So they all invited me at some point to some party that they were going to have at the orphanage. One night, a Friday night or whatever. I went there, and so I became a little more acquainted with the orphanage kids, some of them. And of course, Theo was one of the orphanage kids. So anyway, that was all in town. Now we lived on a farm. I lived on a farm, of course, with my parents, and so the bus would pick us up in the morning, around about 6:20 or so, and drop us off at the school an hour later, 7:15, something like that. And the afternoon, of course, you get on the bus and you go home again to the farm. So one day Theo asked me, and he asked me if I could get him a condom. Since they couldn't leave the orphanage, they were kind of sort of, locked in the whole time. And the idea was that early in the morning on my way into school, I would just get off the bus, right at the last turn, at the last light, right before the bus turns, towards the school. And I would just walk that block or two. It's no big deal. So I would get off, go to the cafe, or that's what we called it, and I would buy it, which I did. So I was quite nervous since I've never bought one before, and I tried to be very secretive about it. Of course, the Greek owner, he didn't care, like whatever. But so I got this from the corner store. All was good. I think it was a Friday. So got to school, except the problem was Theo wasn't there that day. I don't remember what the story was, but he wasn't in school. So I had to keep the condom for the weekend, which is fine. I'll just put it in my wallet. And I had one of those, those days was one of those, I would call it a Concertina wallet. So if you pull it open, you had all these little compartments in there. And then it had a little strap that go right over. So once you close it, all these compartments fold up like that. And you have a little strappy that just binds them all together. So anyway, so I went to bed. The next morning, early Saturday morning rolls around, and I wake up from my deep Friday sleep. When you get that feeling, you wake up and like, something is not right. And I open my one eye, and I see my mother standing in the door, and she has this wallet of mine dangling by the strap. And all I hear her say was, "What is in this wallet of yours?" Of course, that question went unanswered. I mean, what do you say? I'm still kind of like coming out of my sleep. Anyway, wait till your dad gets here. That got me right up. So anyway, I don't recall how much trouble I was in. It couldn't have been too bad because I don't think they hit me, and there was some other stuff going on, but there was, it was okay. Because normally it would have been big trouble, but I don't recall it being big trouble. Anyway, now Monday rolls around. Now I'm on the way to school again. I get off the bus, the same routine. Because I think my mother kept a condom. Now I'm without a condom. And I promised you I would buy him one. And I'm a loyal that way, I keep my promise. So, okay. So I get off the bus, buy the second condom, and then luckily that day he's back in school. And we both have history class at the same time, so we meet up there again. So let me just explain, in those days, the school desks, how they looked. It was more like a kind of a squared little wooden box thingy, 6 inches high, and it was slanted towards the student, and then it had a lid, on piano hinges, and you could just lift up the lid, put in your books if you wanted to. I don't know why, but anyway, and then you close it. Back in those days, small little desk, nothing elaborate, not like today, I guess. I don't know what this looks like in school right now, but anyway. So so we also had in those days what we call prefects. Now, prefect was, I guess you would call it a hall monitor over here. Anyway, and you also had the Ina, the lady's name, the girl's name was Ina. She was the head prefect. She was the most prim and proper of all the girls. She was the head prefect, never did anything wrong, would never swear, and of course her dad happens to be a pastor or a minister or whatever you call it. And she was also in the history class. So now anyway, the teacher had to do something, so he said those famous words, "Keep yourself busy, I'll be back." Okay, fine. So he was out, the coast is clear, and so Theo asks me for his merchandise. I proudly took it out of my wallet because, I'm loyal that way. I got his wallet. He doesn't know the whole story behind it, but anyway, and I just gently tossed it to him. I just, like, there it is. Some darn numbnuts between us jumped up and tried to grab the thing, and in this process he just swatted it, and so here goes this condom flying across the classroom, and I could have sworn it was slow motion, and I could like follow it with my eyes like that. It felt like many seconds, but of course it wasn't. But anyway, so it went through the air, falling right on Ina's desk, the head prefect, right on her desk, and with the motion it just kept on sliding down the little desk, the slanting of the desk, right into her lap. At that point everything went quiet. Nobody said a word, and of course for me time stood still for I don't know how many seconds. And of course all of a sudden nobody claimed ownership of this object. Not numbnuts who swatted the thing in the first place, and of course not Theo, who never received his, he never received it. So she quickly grabbed this object, I guess, by the corner, and she marched straight to the principal's office with her prudish little body, and as quickly as she could. And so now the agonizing wait begins, because something is going to happen, you just don't know what, when. Of course, the intercom, by the end of the day, we had intercoms in those days, and by the end of the day, before the end of the day, the intercom goes off, and I'm called, over the speaker, over the intercom, to the principal's office. So, I dreaded this, so I'm walking there. So I was in my mind preparing for 3, maybe 4 of the best. It's called licks or canings. I mean, I may even tell you a story about how we were caned in those days. But anyway, so I got there real nervous. But instead of that, he handed me a sealed envelope, real stern look on his face, and he told me that I was expelled from school, and that the only way I could get unexpelled or get back into school was if I gave this letter to my parents, and they have to come and see the principal. Oh, so now, okay, so the long drive on the bus back home. Well, remember that little incident I told you earlier about my mother found the first condom in my wallet? Well, imagine her unhappiness when I had to give her this letter. I had no choice. I was expelled from school, and the only way I could get back, they said, give this to your parents, and they have to come see us. So with a heavy heart, I did that. Gave it to my parents. I had to tell her about my predicament, and of course, she repeated like, well, wait till your dad comes home. Of course, there were some hard words and some questions. I just laid it all out on the table. I told them the whole story, the truth, and nothing but the truth about Theo's condom. Now, I don't know if they believed me. I guess they did, because I don't remember them throwing things at me. I don't remember my mother hitting me with a broom. And so I don't remember a lot of pain from that day. So I guess it wasn't too bad. But anyway, so the next morning, the 3 of us went to school. And I had to wait outside for some time while they went inside and spoke to the principal. And eventually they came out, and I was apparently unexpelled and allowed back in school. I don't know what they said. I don't know what they discussed. But that is it. So I don't know at that stage who was more embarrassed, was it me or my parents? But anyway, and that, my friends, is the story of Theo's condom. Thank you very much.